I'm gonna mute myself for right. Hey friends, welcome to the Handyman Journey live YouTube video. If you are chiming in here on Facebook or YouTube, I want to say welcome. My name is Alan Lee. I'm joined here with my good buddy and marketing expert Jason Call. Super stoked to have you guys here. If this is your very first time tuning into one of our live videos, know that we are very chill. Like, we will literally talk about whatever, and we just like to have fun. One of our goals and our missions is to really help elevate the handyman industry. And that's why we're here. That's why we're doing this live video. We actually got some really cool things planned for you today. We're going to have 2 live callers call in live on this video. So it's going to be really cool, but we've also never done it before, in all disclosure. So we will see how it goes. But it'll be really cool. We got 2 people that have some really great questions they're going to be asking live on the air. So first things first, if you guys are tuning in, I want you guys to comment because the way that this live video works best is if you comment on this live video. So down in the comment section below, whether you're watching on YouTube or Facebook, drop a comment in there, and we'll go ahead and answer those periodically. So yes, drop comments below, just like it says down there. So Jason, maybe you want to introduce yourself so that people know who you are.
Yeah, thanks, Alan. It's our first time too. I think we got it hooked up to the Facebook group, so that's sweet, and on YouTube. So my name is Jason. I own Handyman Marketing Pros. We specialize in websites and SEO, internet marketing for small family-owned handyman businesses. Also involved with Alan's coaching group as a coach on his various coaching programs to help out the groups there. And then Handyman Champion. So I'm in charge of the marketing for our CRM. You can check that out at handymanchampion.com. We do a free trial. So it's our new CRM for estimates, invoicing, scheduling, all that good stuff. But overall, I'm just happy to be here, and hopefully get some awesome questions, and we can just help somebody with something that they need some help with. I mean, that's what this is all about, is helping people out, uplifting them, their lives, their businesses. So that's me.
Yep.
How about you?
Awesome,
Who are you, Alan?
Oh, I'm Alan Lee. I'm just here. I'm just some guy. I'm some guy that just decided to start up a handyman business 9 years ago, and now people for some reason want to talk to me. So it's pretty cool. We got a comment here on YouTube from Richard McGuire. He says, the dynamic duo. Thanks, man. Hey, it's good to see you here, Richard. Would love to hear a little bit about you, man. How's your week going? Anything you're struggling with? Do you have any questions specifically related to your handyman industry? I know you've been doing a lot in your business lately, so that's pretty awesome. And to everyone else out there that's viewing this, drop comments in the comment section below. Anything you got. Even if, I don't know, you want to know, what my glasses prescription is or whatever. I don't even know what that is. So if you ask it, you won't get an answer. But ask whatever question you want. We want to hear from you, where you're located, what your name is, how long you've been in business, and just what are you struggling with. We would absolutely love to hear from you. So, Jason, I think a good question to kind of start us off here is, when do you think would be a good time for someone to put decals on their vehicle? Like, say, they just started out, they just have let's say they have a Danger Ranger, right? They got a Ford Ranger like I used to have. And they've been in business for 3 months now. They see a bunch of other people, having decals on their truck, and, they've heard us talking about it. Like, when do you think it'd be a good time for them to do that? Like, financially speaking, and also like ROI wise, like what are your thoughts on that?
Yeah. First off, I want to shout out Richard McGuire, aka Mac, aka Farmer Mac, out in Fremont. What's up, dude? Thanks for joining us in the comment, man. So to answer the question about the decals, I first want to zoom out and say this perspective for any marketing is that starting somewhere is better than not starting at all. You don't have to have the Mona Lisa of wraps to get that process started. You don't have to have the nicest Facebook page, website page, like Google reviews up to 100. Like, you just have to get started somewhere. So my guidance is to start with whatever you can afford within your budget. You can get pretty dang cheap magnets done at a local print shop. What did you pay for your first magnet, Alan?
Man, my first magnet, it was probably like $30, to be honest. Just
Okay.
a little
Yeah,
magnet.
the Danger Ranger. I was gonna see if I could pull up that photo. There's that classic, honestly, like your original website photo of like
Mhm.
your dirty Ranger with your janky trailer, and you had this tiny little magnet with like the wood background that said "Honestly Handyman Services" with your phone number. So my guidance for anyone, like, you definitely want to letter your vehicle. It's a rolling billboard, and then start to level that up. I have never heard anyone say that they have regretted wrapping their vehicle, their trailer. So it's something to work towards once you're more established. You can search the Handyman Journey Facebook group and find a bunch of threads, people asking about wraps. And no one has ever put, I regret wrapping my vehicle. It's a rolling billboard. People will call you from it. I was actually just talking to someone yesterday, actually owns a window cleaning business. And he's kind of getting more established, and it's more of a friend of mine. And, I told him, I asked him if he had his vehicles wrapped or his trailer he's lugging off his window cleaning stuff in. And he said he finally got some like simple magnets done up and had one on the back. And he said within the first month or two, he talked to multiple people who were literally driving right behind him and called the number to ask about his window cleaning service. And they, kind of joked with them, like, I'm actually driving right behind you. So all that to say, if you can spend 50 to $100 on a nice magnet as big as you can, make sure you've got Handyman clearly listed there, as well as a phone number and a website or a QR code. But, I would even focus more on the, I would say if I had to choose one between a QR code, website, or a phone number, I'd probably go with the phone number, because people will see you and just want to call. So get started with a basic one and level up from there is my response to that, man.
Love it. Love it. And we got some comments coming in on Facebook. So wanted to say hi. Win is in the house. What's up, Win? Good to see you, man. He says, y'all looking great, and thanks for the show. Well, thanks for tuning in, man. This show would be nothing without people tuning in. So excited to have you here.
Wynn's Real Handy, by the way. If you didn't know, that's his business name. I always love that business name. Wynn's Real Handy.
Win is the most handy guy I've ever seen. Like the real.
He was on our podcast too.
He's awesome.
Our interview with Win.
What? Yeah, right. If you want to hear about Win, check out our podcast. I have no clue what episode it was, but go watch all of them, really. And then we got Keith Ream in the house. Hello from Facebook from Wisconsin. Tuning in all the way from Wisconsin. Welcome, man. What's your business name, Keith? Would love to hear that. And then we got William Bauman. Oh, he's got a little deal about my logo here. I'll comment. Why does the logo on your van look crooked? Well, it looks crooked, I guess. That's a good question, right? Because the window here is not even with that. That's a good question. It is even. I don't know why it looks like this. Maybe, I don't know. That's a good question. It does look crooked, doesn't it?
Your window isn't like weirdly angled. It's a flat window.
I wonder if the window is angled. So yeah. I don't know. William, I've never noticed that. But that's the eye detail you need as a handyman. So, well, I don't know.
The most important thing is you've got the logo, you've got the phone number, rolling billboard.
I wonder if I remember back when I was an auto mechanic, the new general manager that started at our shop, he used to work for another auto shop, and he was saying that his boss put lettering on their vehicle. He put it on backwards so that it would get a lot more attention. Like it said, like, I don't even remember what it said. Something like, do you need an auto mechanic or something? But he put it backwards. So like you'd have to really look at it to read it, and he's like, the general manager was like, I don't know why the guy ever did that, but it's like, who knows, right? It's something that people are going to notice and people are going to remember. It's like, oh, you're the guy with the logo that's on crooked. I don't know.
Yeah, it wouldn't be my recommendation.
Right. It wouldn't be mine either. Keith Ream said he started a handyman business focusing on residential handyman services. But I noticed that my marketing got more commercial interest rather than residential. Do you think I should refocus my business to market to commercial rather than residential? I personally don't think you necessarily need to rebrand it. I would just go for it. Like, there's nothing wrong with Yeah, comments aren't working. Sorry, they're on. Yeah, they're on my computer. So Keith, I don't know if I'd necessarily, and Jason, I'd love to hear your thought on this.
Yeah.
I don't know if I'd necessarily rebrand your business as like commercial rather than residential. I would just roll with it because I think you need both. Like commercial is great and has a lot of positives, but it also has some negatives, right? Residential is great, has a lot of positives, but also has some negatives. So I think they complement each other well. And you can almost, as you grow the business, like I love like the thought of like growth and stuff like that. So you could almost have two divisions. You could have a commercial and then a residential division and things like that. But Jason, what are your kind of thoughts on that?
Yeah, so you definitely don't need to rebrand. I would say if you're going like full bore and you started developing, closer to like $1 million in annual revenue off commercial and your residential business is just can't even hold a candle to that. At that point, maybe look at some kind of, rebrand using like commercial services, something like that. But just an example, one of our clients that does a lot of commercial business, John Rand, the handyman out of Mobile, Alabama. Shout out to John. He does a ton of commercial business. It's over half of his book of business. He's got at least one, maybe two crews that go around doing commercial work for, your strip malls, all your franchises, Dick's Sporting Goods, banks. I mean, you name it. He's really got in with a lot of these businesses and being known as the commercial maintenance go-to. And his business name is John Rand, the Handyman. And that's his name, John Rand. And so, he's got a really successful book of commercial business, has a big focus on that in his marketing. Maybe at some point he'd rebrand. But it's not something, again, I would consider until you are like just a huge lion's share of commercial book of business. I wouldn't be concerned about it until you hit that point.
Yeah.
Just
and
my one thing is definitely make it a point in your marketing, like website, brochures, any marketing communications out there that you are a commercial maintenance specialist as well. Like, so residential and commercial services, just make sure you have a really big mention of that. The big box stores, their management companies out of New York City or wherever, they will look up handyman in an area to try to find someone to help with, fixing that, door or whatever it may be. And the beauty of these relationships is they'll pay top dollar. Anyone doing lots of commercial work knows that they're less price sensitive. They just want the job done. A lot of times you have to be okay with net 30, net 60 is worst case of waiting 30 days to get paid after you send the invoice. But their accounts that, they go to their accounts payable, and you always get paid at a good rate. And the last thing I'll mention on there is these relationships are sticky. When they find a really great contractor to help them and have that relationship to fix all the knickknacks around the office, around bigger industrial complexes, that's a little bit more specialist work there. But once you get that relationship, you get to meet the manager of the shop or whatever, you can really easily secure a very lucrative long-term relationship on the commercial side. So it's a absolutely great focus. So I'll stop talking. I love talking about that commercial side. And we've talked about that.
Yeah, I love that. I think you're spot on, Jason. And like Tony said, in the comment section of the Facebook Mastermind group. And again, if you're not commenting, you're missing out. Comment down there. We'd love to hear from you. Tony said, do the commercial work. It pays more. So it's a different, like Jason was saying, it's a different mindset between a commercial and residential, right? We have one client that is a doctor's office, and they call us every November, December, and they're like, hey, we got X amount of money that we need to spend before the end of the year. And we're going to paint this room in the office. We're going to get a whole bunch of chairs we need assembled. We got a whole bunch of desks we need assembled. Like, they have budgets that they have to spend money on before the end of the year, which is completely different than a residential homeowner, right? Because a residential homeowner, like, they might set aside money for handyman work, but if they don't have to spend it, they're not going to. But a commercial, they're like, no, we need to spend this, or, the higher ups are going to take it away from us next year. So
I remember that from my corporate career, having budgets at like bank branches or departments. And I remember the branch manager be like, hey, we got this budget. What do you guys want? Like, we got to spend it or else they're going to reduce it next year if we don't spend it. And I just remember thinking like, just being some kid, like thinking, everything like, well, that doesn't make any sense. Why wouldn't the bank want to save money? But, so things work differently in the bigger commercial world.
Yeah, they do. But one thing to think about, one caveat for people out there that people might be thinking like, oh, this commercial, this is amazing, right? This is great. Like, sign me up. I remember it was last year. It was a little slow, in December, but it was the commercial work that really sailed us through because all these people at the end of the year needed this stuff done. Great clients that have been our clients for years. But what we noticed was I was like booking because there wasn't a whole lot of other stuff coming in. I was booking the jobs like Monday, Wednesday, Friday were commercial works. And then next week, Tuesday and Thursday were commercial works. Well, those are like net 30, net 60, net 90. So it does a little bit different with your cash flow because you're not getting paid the day that you finish the job. So you need to account that into it. So I kind of made up a rule like no more than, one commercial job a week, or no more than one commercial job every 2 weeks, whatever is sustainable for your business. But you got to make sure the cash flow is good because if, payroll's up, if your credit card bill is up and you don't have that money physically in the bank, like you have to pay that somehow. So I think that's one thing to think about when you go commercial is that they typically don't pay, the exact, day that you finish the work.
Mm-hmm. In some states and areas, you have to have some kind of different licensing. So just keep that in mind too. Do your research in your area with anything that's outside the normal.
Yep. All right, guys. So this is the maiden voyage. We are going to bring on our very first live caller. We have Mike Holsinger here chiming in. He's going to ask us a question, and we're going to see if we can answer it live on the air or if we're going to be stumped and we're going to be like, you got it. So, Mike, welcome on to the Handyman Journey talk show, I guess we'll call it. How are you doing today?
I'm good, man. How are you?
Hey, doing good, Mike. Maybe you want to introduce yourself real quick. Just let us know what your business name is and where you're located at.
Mike Holsinger. I own and operate Sterling Handyman Services, LLC. I'm located in South Willis, Missouri, just north of Arkansas and just east of Oklahoma.
Okay.
Awesome.
Cool.
Awesome.
Sterling.
I got you pulled up here. I'm actually from Northwest Arkansas, Bella Vista, Bentonville, Fayetteville. So you're not too far from where I grew up.
No,
That's
that's 45 minutes down the road from me.
Yeah, that's not far at all in South Missouri, Southwest Missouri.
So how long you been in business, Mike?
About 2 years now.
Okay, cool. So how can we help you? What question you got for us?
Well, okay, so being that I'm in such a rural area, the town I live in has a population of 900. Of course, most of the bigger towns, like where you're from, Bella Vista, Bentonville, stuff like that,
yeah,
it's 45 minutes to an hour drive. And I'm in all the Facebook groups within a half of my house. How do you, living in such a rural area, how do you generate leads for jobs to stay consistent, and how do you adjust your prices accordingly for that rural area?
Yeah, great question, man. So if you don't mind, Alan, I'll kind of jump in first here. This is one that
you can have it.
I get quite a bit just in doing marketing because in rural areas, it's a little bit different. People are more price sensitive. You're not going to have your kind of ideal, like, the super nice neighborhood folks everywhere. It's a lot more condensed in big metro areas. Also, that word of mouth and like print marketing, like little local newsletter ads can be more effective. There's less Google searches. There's just less people. So there's less overall volume, as well as consumer behavior in more rural areas are less prone to be searching on Google than asking their neighbor. And the other point that comes to mind is everyone's handy in a rural area. They know somebody, their cousin, their uncle, their brother, their dad, whoever. They can do the job. It's just, who knows as far as the quality.
Yeah.
So how you set your prices? I know Alan, I could pretty much answer that from Alan's perspective. Your price is your price. You need to look at your income that you need to make, the profit margins that you're trying to make, how much it costs to run your business on a regular basis, and kind of work backwards to come up with your hourly rate. We do not recommend charging by the hour here. We do recommend charging by the project. So if you're bidding a job that's going to take 2 hours, don't tell them it's 2 hours at $100 an hour. You just tell them $200 to do this project. So firstly, it's how do you adjust for going across a wide area, right? So let me address that one real quick. I actually talked to a gentleman today. Shout out to Sean Madden, if he's tuning in. But he drives up to sometimes 2 hours because of his network, and he gets referred. But he does it at the same profitability as if he just went across the neighborhood, because he has created what he called a travel modifier. So he knows any mileage over 15 miles, I think he said, or 15-minute drive, he would add this mile charge. So he knows every single mile he has to charge, let's just call it $5. I'm not sure. It accounted for his hourly rate and his gas, his fuel charges. So he could easily point out okay, that is 2 hours away. So I'm going to have to add this modifier. And he lets the person know hey, this might be more expensive than what you could get someone closer to you, but just for full clarity, I do have to charge travel time and fuel and stuff. But he said that he has lots of people that still hire him because it was a referral. He's already got the reputation. So he came up with basically a dollar value that is attached to every single mile in addition of 15 miles, I think is how he constructed that. So you should know your hourly rate.
Yeah, and that makes sense.
Yeah, go ahead, Mike.
I was just saying what you were saying about with him and how he factors that in. It makes sense.
Yeah. So
go ahead.
Oh, you're good, man. I was gonna say, so I would just come up with that, find out that dollar per mile, and just speak truth. Just tell people honestly, if you've got to go far away, I got to charge this travel fee. Just be upfront about it. Maybe you don't. Maybe in your area, you just add it to your price. This gentleman, Sean, did kind of extrapolate that out, I guess you could say, that the additional travel charge. To address the second point of the question here, and then I'll kind of toss it back or toss it to Alan, is generating leads in a rural area. Your kind of more advanced stuff, like website SEO stuff, that's not as important because there's no competition. So you basically just need a decent website and a Google profile. I do see that you've got a Google profile with a couple of reviews that came in, one 7 months ago, one 1 month ago. So there's no website attached to it. In a rural area, you could get away with a basic Squarespace, Wix, something simple. Don't spend too much time on it. Of course, I'm happy to have a conversation with you if you want to talk in more detail, but get some kind of website in play, start building reviews as much as possible from friends, family, anyone that you've done work with in the past. Update your cover photo there from the business card to a personal photo of yourself. It's going to be more attractive. But a basic website and Google profile with reviews is going to rank you pretty far because you're so rural. There's no competition out there. So the online component's a little bit simpler. Maybe if there's some active Facebook community groups, but outside of that, being rural, it's so much more referral based networking. Like I mentioned earlier, newspaper, your ads, traditional print advertising is more effective than, say, if you looked at that same strategy in a more populated area. But it's definitely can be easier in some regards with time because you develop reputation, but it's also harder in that it's a thicker kind of clientele to get to because they're more spread out and more price sensitive and know somebody that can do it cheaper kind of thing. So it's inherently a little bit tougher.
Yeah.
And how far are you from bigger towns again?
Reviews,
Sorry. Sorry about that, Mike. We keep talking over each other.
Joplin is about
Go for it.
Yeah, there's a little bit of a delay. Joplin is about an hour from Bentonville, Bella Vista, Rogers, Rogers is about 45 minutes, maybe an hour, depending on what part of town. Bentonville is about 30, 45 minutes, something like that. Um, I'm generally close to 45 minutes to an hour plus away from any of the bigger metropolises.
Yeah. Yeah. It can be tough in that, you've got to charge a travel cost to get there, but also your cost of living, I assume it's definitely lower than Bentonville. It's pretty dang expensive there nowadays. So, your hourly kind of rate is probably going to be much lower than a local handyman in Bentonville. So be interesting, like how the rate differences there between a local handyman in Bentonville that might be charging, 90 to 125 an hour ish, versus your hourly rate is probably going to be much lower because your cost of living is much lower out there in Southwest. So, the only way to penetrate those markets is going to be networking, print advertising, getting in local Facebook community groups, next door groups. You can't really rank there per se in your traditional online sense with SEO, Google profile, because you're physically so far away, and Google does favor proximity to somebody searching. So kind of more boots on the ground, targeted advertising is the best way for you to get in front of Joplin, Bentonville, Bella Vista, et cetera. And just knowing the markets, I know Bentonville is a fantastic market. It's a little bit crowded, but there's just constant construction, home maintenance, home repairs going on in that area.
I think the way that I would do it, Jason,
I've heard that.
and Mike, is I would recommend, the way that I would do it, like, is if I was in that area, right? Like, obviously try and get as many local clients as you can, like with, yard signs or print marketing, things like that. But I would probably choose one of the best big towns that are about 45 minutes away. So let's just call that Bentonville, right? I have no clue what that is. I'm a California boy, so I'm like, I don't know anything about that. But I would choose that, right? And just be like, okay, I'm going to rank in Bentonville. I would look at maybe getting a UPS store box, because those actually give you a physical street address, and then you could create a Google business account there. No, Jason's like, nope.
Don't do the UPS box. It's a great.
Don't do that.
It goes against their guidelines. You can get suspended. Co-working space.
Well,
Co-working space. You
but one
can't get verified on Google at a co-working space.
To push against that, Jason, we've had that for the last 9 years. We still use a UPS box. You
can get away with it, but
that's our thing.
It's a harder nut to crack these days because of the verification video. But okay. I totally agree with that strategy, though, of like a co-working space is typically inexpensive, and it allows you to get a Google business profile verified there. You'd want to check with the co-working space first to ensure that. But that is a great way if you pick a market. I do love that thought, Alan.
Okay, so no UPS box. Do not do that. Don't take my advice. And then, but maybe get a co-working space, or get something cheap in Bentonville, so you could start ranking in Bentonville, and then just start like dominating that area, because like Jason said, hopefully the cost of living where you're at is a little bit cheaper, and you can come in and kind of undercut all the other handyman in Bentonville. I don't know. That's my thought, at least. But yeah, that's my 2 cents.
Well, the hourly rate I try to go with, like you said, the rent and cost of living is a lot cheaper where I'm at. And I was in talks with a buddy of mine. He started an HVAC business in Fort Smith, and I was asking him, how to go about this process and what I should do, and all that good stuff. He's helped me set that up, and he was the one that helped me come up with the hourly rate I have. I initially started at about $50 an hour, because it's such a area, and like you said, people are price minded. They have Tom, Dick, and Harry, and everybody under the sun that can do the kind of work. Mm-hmm. So being cheap like that, he said that would help get your foot in the door, and then give it a year and raise your rates. So after about my first year, he called me and asked how things were going and stuff. I told him a handful of jobs here and there, but nothing. I'm not putting any money back because I'm not bringing in the work that's bringing in that kind of money, just a little nickel and dime stuff here and there. He said, well, you should raise your rates now. So I jumped up to 75, and he said that for this area and the research he did, he said that's sufficient. I'm about in the middle of what handyman in this, tri-state area charge. I'm about in the middle. Anything from, I think it was 45 to 150 an hour is what they price at if you Google them or whatever.
So how does that $75 an hour like fit you? Like, do you have money left over at the end of the month?
No, like this month alone, I've done, I don't know, 3 or 4, maybe 5 jobs, handyman jobs. And then I do subcontracting work for a Dollar General contractor, and he sends me out jobs every once in a while. And then I got picked up by a real estate property maintenance group, and they send me out jobs every once in a while. But no, the jobs are few and far between. And like I said, I'm in every local Facebook group and all that stuff. So anytime somebody posts looking for this kind of work to get done, I always tag the business page, leave my phone number, and if they want messages, I'll message them and shoot my information out there to them. And 9 times out of 10, I don't hear back.
Yeah, a 75-hour rate. You just want to make sure that that hashes out when you're doing full-time labor hours. So I know for most, they're calculating at least like 30, 32 hours of labor in a full-time week, and the rest is admin business stuff. In an area like Southwest City, that's probably a good rate where you can profitably charge that. You want to take into account that travel time. I would say, more organic kind of traditional residential setup, using Alan's guidance of finding a co-working space in the Bentonville area is definitely the best market. Maybe there's more opportunity, or you enjoy working with folks in Joplin, wherever. But I'd certainly choose Bentonville area. If I were you, for kind of setting up a Google profile at a co-working space, building reviews on that. You're going to start generating organic results and calls from that local area around that co-working space in Bentonville, especially tied up to, website, if you do any SEO. But I think the most meaningful thing you can do, man, is definitely have like a professional kind of presence, good reviews, nice print marketing, flyers, business cards. A big part, in my opinion, would be relationships, property managers, realtors, joining these local Facebook community groups, targeted mailers in Bentonville, Fort Smith, wherever. Probably not Fort Smith, that's quite a drive. Joplin, I mean, like that more relationship based. So you can get a handful of property management relationships. You could probably work out that drive time and knock out a bunch of work in a given couple of days. But all that to say, it's trickier when you're in such a rural area, man. So I empathize with that, but you can absolutely make it happen.
Yeah, we want to say thank you so much to Mike for tuning in. The call actually dropped, so unfortunately we lost him. But Mike, we really appreciate having you on the call with us. And another thing that I wanted to add to that, because that was, I think, such a great conversation, is, I personally think, Jason, that Mike should go all in on a specific community, like Bentonville. That sounds great. Like I said, again, I don't know anything about Bentonville, but I like what you're saying, the co-working space, and then just go all in on Bentonville. So if you can, join Bentonville Facebook groups, community groups, and just start advertising heavily in that area. Because right now he says he's working subcontracting for a guy from a Dollar General. Doesn't sound like he's getting a whole lot of handyman stuff. So I think Mike really needs to bump up his handyman stuff so that he can justify that hourly rate that he's charging, and start doing more work. Spend a whole day in Bentonville, right? Be busy all day at maybe 2 or 3 different jobs in Bentonville, making some good money. Because I think $75 an hour is good for that area. But he definitely needs the work to support that.
Yeah. As we're kind of decompressing after that, I hope Mike is tuning in here, or does tune in, because I do agree that I think it's going to be hard to put yourself between Bentonville, Arkansas, and Joplin, Missouri. He's even close to, there's some smaller towns in Oklahoma. I think your energy is going to be best spent focusing on a really one area, hitting the Google profile there, getting that verified at a co-working space, joining a chamber of commerce, realtor associations, hitting up property managers, real estate companies, and just going full send on a market. And again, Bentonville is an above average market where, Mike, you'd be able to, once you get some traction, some reviews, really be pushing some really profitable hourly rates, especially being out in the Southwest City, Missouri. So I totally agree, Alan, as we've kind of decompressed, I would put all your eggs in one basket and put all your energy into focus on building relationships there, building a reputation there.
Yep. And don't get a UPS box. Get a co-working space. I like that piece of advice. I didn't know about that.
Yeah, there's probably going to be tons of comments like, "Oh no, I've got mine verified." It's like, yeah, you can if you're lucky these days, because the Google now requires a verification video, and you can't prove your address when you're like at a mailbox, right? It directly goes against their terms of use. So there is probability to be suspended. If you ever went through re-verification, it'd be tough to get re-verified. So the best practice, if you don't actually live in a place or have an office, get a closet office space, or a shop can be a good ROI, because you can have it for storage, tools, employees if you have any. And of course, the co-working space is a really great option. I just recommend anyone listening, when you're researching co-working spaces, ask them directly, am I able to verify a Google business profile at this location? And they will know the answer to that question. Most of the time it's yes. So do your research, but co-working spaces, a high success rate of getting verified on Google. It is allowed.
Yeah, I think that's good. And I think I was thinking a little bit more about what I said. I don't think we use our UPS box anymore for our Google address, because now we use our shop. Now we have an actual shop. So
yeah,
I think when we first started it up, we definitely used that UPS box, because the option was like to use our home address or do something else. And so we figured that out, and we created a UPS box. And that's like the address that our LLC is tied to and everything like that. But I think now for Google, we use our actual shop space.
Okay. Yeah. So full clarity on that too, is yes, Google does collect your physical address when you create the profile, but you can hide your address. If you're using a home residential address, you should toggle the little thing that says hide my address, or it actually says I'm a service area business. You can get verified with home residential addresses. I see it all the time. But Google's systems for detecting residential zoned areas are just drastically improving all the time. And so now residential addresses that are public can be automatically flagged, or if any changes are made, they'll get triggered for re-verification. So you can absolutely still use your home address and hide it from Google, but they still collect that in the setup process for verification purposes. The last note I'll make here, the reason why we're having this in-depth conversation about a co-working space, like, well, why would Mike need to get a Google profile at a co-working space? He's already got a Google profile. Why does he need another one or a different one? It's because that Google's algorithm, a big pillar of it is proximity. How close are you to someone searching? So if your location is out in the boonies, 45 minutes out, you're not going to rank in your area that you drive to every day. You're just not, because you're too far away. There's competitors ranking there. You got to overcome that. It's not going to happen. So the reason for strategically looking at a profile at a co-working space, if you're really rural, is a good thing to consider, because you can get verified around close proximity to your ideal clients that are searching that you otherwise would not be able to get in front of because of the proximity factor in Google's ranking algorithm.
Yeah, and I think one thing to note is, like, some people are like, well, what's a Google business profile, right? So like, let's say you wanted to get a haircut, right? And you live in, let's just say St. Louis, Missouri, right? You go to Google and you type in haircut in St. Louis, Missouri. It's going to come up with kind of a Google profile. I mean, it's basically like a little profile of Supercuts or whatever. It's going to show you where it's at, show you their phone number, show you their operating hours. That's a Google business profile. So creating one of those is huge, because someone in Bentonville is going to type in handyman near me. And if he wants to show up when they type in handyman near me, he needs to be in Bentonville. He needs to be ranked in Bentonville. And that is a really good place, probably the number one place to get reviews. So when you create a Google business profile, the first thing you want to do is call everyone that you've ever worked for. I even say, if you replace the kitchen faucet for your mom 10 years ago, call her up, have her leave you a Google review, because the more Google reviews you get, the higher up you're going to rank on that when people type in handyman near me. So I think that's an important thing to note, because some people are just starting, don't even know what a Google business profile is.
Yeah, thanks for clarifying. There's way more complexity to ranking than that, but at a base level, getting the profile, getting reviews, so important.
Yeah, I'm I'm very low on the understanding, so I was like, that's how I understand it, Jason.
You're good, man.
And then I
You're
just
good.
leave the rest to you.
Yeah, got you
But
covered.
you're so right. There's a lot more you could do to rank. So I want to put it out there that we do these live videos every 2 weeks on a Friday at 2 p.m. Pacific Standard Time. If you want to be a live caller on our next live call, go ahead and send me an email. So the next live is actually on Halloween, October 31st. Look at that. Our awesome producer, Lee, put that up to remind us. So thank you for that, Lee.
Thanks, Lee.
So on the next live, if you want to be a live caller, like email us. You can email me over at alan@handymanjourney.com. I would absolutely love to chat with you. And you could let me know kind of who you are, where you're located, what kind of question you think you'd want to bring to the live video. But we're looking for live callers. So if you want to do that, email me. We're going to bring on another live caller here shortly that has a really cool question. So if you guys have any more questions, drop them in the comment section below. We would love to hear them. Hey, Jason, how are you on hot water or water heaters? Are you good at answering water heater questions?
Maybe actually. Well,
right.
got a client that specializes in water heaters that I've worked with for eternity because it was back in when I was first getting started. So, what are we talking about here? We talking about propane, electric, tankless. I mean, what are we talking here?
So we got a question here from our Handyman Journey Mastermind group on Facebook. I just want to plug that. If you're not part of the Handyman Journey Mastermind group on Facebook, you need to be. You're missing out. There's such amazing conversations. So we got a question on there from Keith Ream that came in on this live video. On an electric water heater with 2 heating elements, usually the water heater fills with sediment and shorts out the bottom element. What's more cost effective? Change out the element or replace the whole water heater?
Okay, you're probably beyond my scope, but I remember we got an electric water heater at our house in California, and it was the worst. I had no idea what I was doing. It was a bad investment. It was a ton of electricity to power an electric water heater. So anyone out there listening, just do your research on how efficient it's gonna be. Like my electric bill was instantly, I was just like, wow, this is a bad idea. And I paid the plumber to put it in. But I remember him saying that every couple years, maybe every year, there has to be some maintenance to take out. Maybe that's what it was. The sediment has to be removed or something. I don't know the answer to that question. I just want to put out there that if you're thinking about getting an electric water heater, do your research on how much electricity that puppy's going to take because it's expensive.
There you go, Daddy. So, we're true to our word. If you leave us a comment with a question, we're going to at least attempt to answer it. Yeah, Keith, I don't know a whole lot about water heaters either, but I would say if there's sediment building in the bottom enough to short out an element, it's probably time to replace that water heater. I don't know. I'm not a water heater guy, but
I thought it was going to be like a marketing related question. I was going to be able to answer it somewhat, but that I do not know.
I don't know. That's funny. Okay. Thanks, Keith. Appreciate that question. If anyone else has any other questions, drop them below. Like I said, we're going to be bringing on another live caller here shortly. Jason, do you have any questions that come to your mind for me?
Sure, man. What's the best job you guys did this week?
Oh, best job. Oh, probably today. They're still doing it. An attic ladder. I think attic ladders are one of the best jobs. And what I'm super stoked about this particular attic ladder is, an attic ladder, you need 2 guys, right? Because you got to cut the hole, you got to put the attic ladder up there, and there's one guy up there and one guy down here, right? The guy to lift it up. And then, because you put up boards to hold it up there. So once that guy up in the attic got it fastened in, then the guy down below needs to, loosen up the supports so that he can actually come down. So it requires 2 people. So we just hired, it's probably been 2 months ago now, we hired a tech assistant, which is someone to help us out on jobs and also learning, right? So this is the first attic ladder where we've had a tech assistant on board, which is really cool from a business perspective, because you're not having to send 2 full technicians out to do that job. You have 1 technician up in the attic and the tech assistant down below. So that's exciting to me. That gets me going, So we're utilizing that tech assistant to the full capacity.
Yeah, I know, attic ladder installation is not something that we see a lot, like people that we work with doing as a service, but I know, Alan, that's a huge profit generating job. Um, is that a common requested, like how many attic ladders do you guys install every single month or every single year? Is it a frequent one or?
No, it's not very frequent. I'd say maybe one every 2 months, maybe.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well,
I
how
mean,
much?
it depends. Sometimes they come in like madman, and I've done them like in 1 month. I've done 4 in a month before, so it all depends how they come in.
Yeah. We got a question. How long should you commit to a handyman business before accepting failure? What do you think, Alan?
Dang. Well, I think it's a mindset, right? It's totally a mindset of understanding that there can be a better future. Um, I've had so many times where I've wanted to give up. I've wanted to just be like, I'm done, right? But usually at that moment is where you're about to have a breakthrough. If you're actually committed to making a difference and things like that. So, I mean, it all depends, right? So, if you're going at this thing for like a year and you haven't had consistent work and people just aren't calling you and it's not clicking or whatever, you're doing it full time for a year and you're just not making ends meet, like maybe this isn't the business for you. Or maybe you need to do something different in your business. Maybe you haven't gotten the right coaching. Maybe you haven't joined the Handyman Journey Mastermind group on Facebook. Maybe you haven't talked to Jason about marketing. Like there's always a thing of like, okay, if this works for other people, what am I doing wrong? Why is it not working for me? Right? What could I be doing differently to make this succeed? So failure is just a mindset, because if you say before accepting failure, I mean, I've failed thousands of times in my business, right? But I've used that failure as like stepping stones to get to the next level. And you just kind of get yourself up and brush yourself off and try again. So I don't know. That's kind of my thought. What do you think, Jason?
Yeah, firstly, I'm not sure who asked the question, but if you're in the business right now,
It was producer Lee.
That
It's producer Lee
was
wrote
actually
that.
producer. Okay, I didn't know if there's a
Yeah.
real handyman out there that was kind of if they were in it. I just was curious to get more details so we could see if we could help them out. It's Joe Peters. Joe Peters. So my, it depends. There's so many variables there. Like, if someone's planning to start a business, like when I started, I left my job cold turkey and just went for that entrepreneurship. Right, started a business. And me and my wife, we set pretty firm expectations around. I need to be generating X number of dollars within 6 months, or by this time, or else it's time to go get a job at the bank again or whatever. So there's lots of different ways to set expectations around, being prudent with your household finances. So, if you set those expectations, then, you set those boundaries for yourself of when to kind of move on. However, I would say if you're doing all the fundamentals, Google profile, reviews, nice website, good branding, flyers, business cards, you're networking, you're reaching out to property managers, you're on local Facebook community groups, you are in the community, you are trying to make an impact and reach people and serve them in their household repairs and improvements. I think anyone can do that with a heart to help people and a smile on your face. So I don't think you have to accept failure when you just show up and are doing all the things that need to be done. Does that mean every month is going to be the best month in business or the best week, the best day? Absolutely not. It's going to be a roller coaster. There's going to be amazing months. There's going to be hard months, even when you're doing everything right. So, it brings in this variable of determination, the ability to pick yourself back up when you fail, because you will fail a lot on your own. So that would be, I'm not sure. I think Alan's too, of like, at a point, if you can't get traction, you're doing all the things to the best of your ability. You got to be honest with yourself and take care of your household, take care of your family, pay the bills. And if it's not for you, then just being honest with your situation and around those expectations, that's the best you can do. But there is hope to have an amazing business for yourself.
Love it. Love it. Yeah, that's some good stuff, Jason. So I think one thing that was part of our conversation from earlier that I wanted to bring up is like, the cost of decals. Like we were kind of talking about decals. So sorry, that's out of left field. But so to wrap or not wrap, these are decals. So we got one decal on the side of the van here, one on the other side, and then one on the back window, basically. And this one that's on crooked here. This cost us about $800 to have it done,
That
at
one
a local,
that we're seeing, or the whole van?
the whole van.
Okay,
Yeah, the whole van.
that's good, man. That's a good price.
Yeah. Yeah. So
good investment.
yeah, that worked. It worked out well. Yeah, it's a great investment. So if you think of like what the cost is to put a decal or wrap, I don't do wraps. I go white vans and have a white background in your logo. It looks like a wrap. So personally, that's what I've found myself that works really well, because it's like $700, and this one's been on there for probably 3 or 4 years now. And so it's more than paid for itself. I think one great thing that we hear from a lot of people is, oh, I saw your van at my neighbor's house, so it's a rolling billboard at this point, which is great. So,
yeah. And it feeds into the reason why I love websites, SEO, is it's an asset that grows in value over time. It's an asset that you own and it appreciates. The same goes for your vehicles. What's on them? It's an asset. You invest in it, but the wrap, the lettering, the $800 for the decals Alan has, that's a one-time investment. Alan probably couldn't even come close to the number of leads that have been booked because of that $800 that he put into that van. So by now, it's probably just an incredibly profitable investment that Alan made 4 years ago because of the amount of traction that's come from it. So I believe that a good decal, good lettering is an early investment that as soon as you have the cash flow to invest $800 in something like that, really big, professional, gonna get lots of visibility. I think it's a great investment to make that'll probably pay for itself within a few months, if even.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So Mike Radcliffe. Oh, we got our live caller in. Look at that. We got Joe Peters is going to be chiming in here. We got another live caller here. Joe Peters, welcome to the Handyman Journey live talk show. Glad to have you here, man. Maybe you want to introduce yourself to everyone listening real quick. What's your name, your business, and how long you've been in business and where you're located at?
Yeah. Hi, Alan. Hi, Jason. Thank you for having me. My name is Joe Peters. My company is Resolute Handiworks. I'm located in Middleborough, Massachusetts. And I started my business just over 2 years ago.
Awesome, man.
Very cool.
Thanks for coming on. You need to get some Google reviews. If Resolute Handyman in Middleborough at ResoluteHandyworks.com. Build up some Google reviews, man.
Yes.
Great. Thanks for coming on, though.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
So Joe, what? Oh, so sorry. There's a little bit of delay here, but so we'd love to hear your question, Joe. What kind of question you got for us?
Okay, so I'm pretty well set up with my business, and I'm not really having a problem getting work. I'm getting plenty of work. I live near Cape Cod, Massachusetts, and that's an area that's a high sort of tourist area. A lot of people have second homes here, wealthier people from New York, Boston. There's a lot of expensive real estate here, and little by little, I've just been, the thing that's great about this is that there's a need for reliable people who will show up and do work. So it's almost like I've kind of struck gold by doing work out here. And it's great. So, I'm so grateful to have that. Where I'm struggling is just feeling like I'm having a good sense of managing. And so I had a call with you maybe 6 weeks ago or something, and we chatted a bit about this, and recommended the handymandchampion.com site, and I went on there and I checked out the mobile app and using that. And honestly, I've been so busy. I did sign up for the trial offer, and I haven't even gotten to doing it. And I think is I'm a little bit intimidated because, I'm 59 years old and I am not tech dumb, but I'm just not as adapted to it as a lot of people younger than me. Um, so, I get in there and I'm just kind of going into it blind and not really knowing what to do. So,
Yeah.
my question is there option or availability for somebody who can sort of coach me through that and kind of get me going, if like through a live session or something, screen sharing, that sort of thing, where I could get over that and then just kind of run with it because I just need to streamline what I'm doing.
Yeah, thanks so much for the question, Joe, and of course checking out Handyman Champion. That's our CRM we just launched about a month and a half ago. You can get a free 30-day trial at handymanchampion.com. So, our guidance for you specifically, Joe, because you already got the app, you're on the trial. We have an amazing support team that you can get just a live call scheduled, or not even scheduled. They'll just like hop on with you and just make it work because we're real folks and our software team is based out of Minneapolis. So we're US based. So the phone number, there's a phone number that basically we're going to advise that you call, and also anyone in here too, 855-220-8652. We're coming up on close of business hours for the weekend here, but if you call our number there for Handyman Champion, most likely you're going to get hooked up with an awesome dude called Luke, and he is he's just super helpful. He'll answer all your questions. You guys can do a screen share. He can walk you through whatever questions you got to make sure you're locked and loaded. But that's definitely the greatest path for you right now to kind of, I guess, force the issue of getting over that initial technology hump, because I'm empathetic that any new technology embedded into a business, it's kind of intimidating and you're kind of like, well, that seems like some time investment and I'm pretty busy right now. So our team at Handyman Champion, Luke, would be able to walk you through and kind of get you up to speed, man.
That would really be a game changer for me. It's so helpful, because it's, I feel like I could be firing on all cylinders and something's missing, and it's just my ability to. And I'm hoping that through doing that, I can sort of fine tune my pricing. I've been listening to you guys through the whole the whole thing, and my pricing sort of all like I want to kind of get that nailed down. I think I'm leaving a lot of money on the table. So I'm to just learn how to use that and start to streamline this stuff so I can really just make it roll. Because one of your questions, and I had this earlier myself doing a job where I just got overwhelmed with frustration and a sense like, geez, I'm never going to get this done. But I want to throw in the towel, and I'm like, I failed with this, I can't do it. And the word that sticks in my head is relentless. And if you're succeeding at something, you have to be relentless, and that means when you feel like you can't do it and you feel like you're failing, you just have to dig deeper and push harder. That's how you're ultimately going to succeed. And so, and that's my for the day.
I love that, Joe. I love it. When you're struggling, having a hard time, you just need to dig deeper, and try harder. I think that's so good. It kind of goes into what we were talking about earlier about like, when should you throw in the towel and admit failure? Is like, sometimes you need to look at yourself and ask yourself like the hard questions. Like, is there something that I'm not doing, or is there something I'm doing wrong? Or is there something, oftentimes for me, right? If I look at myself from like an outside perspective, like, is there something that I'm hearing from a lot of other people, but I'm not implementing because I think this about it, or I think I've already got it figured out, I don't need to listen to them. So I think oftentimes, like, there's other people that are speaking into our lives about our business, about our life, whatever it is, and we just don't want to listen to them because we kind of have an ego. I think for for a lot of guys, it's an ego problem of like not wanting to take other people's advice or not wanting to admit that we need help or things like that. But at the end of the day, like that's part of digging deeper and trying harder, is trying all avenues to, get this thing up and going. And we know that it works because we can look at other people that have gone before us, right? And see how it's affected them and how it's changed their lives or et cetera, and things like that. So, I think it's really cool that you are looking into a CRM and things like that, because I think, even just for people out there that are watching this, what a CRM is, it stands for Customer Relations Management Software. And it's basically software that helps you manage your business better. Oftentimes we're running around, taking calls like crazy, writing estimates and invoices on the back of receipts, throwing them in the back of our truck because we're busy, right? We're really good at what we do, which is great. Like handymen start businesses because they are really good at doing handyman stuff. But oftentimes we struggle with like the business side of things. And that's where CRM comes in play. A CRM helps you build and create really high quality estimates, invoices, work orders, and schedule those. Actually create a good scheduling with your customers. And then it helps you accept payments. Most CRMs do. Handyman Champion does. And then another aspect of it is it's a customer relations system. So it stores all of your customers' contact info so that you can reach back out to them by doing, different types of drip marketing campaigns or things like that down the road. So it does have a huge influence in your business. Not only does it help you run more efficiently, but what I found is customers appreciate it because they're like, wow, I really love how detailed your estimates are and how they have your logo. And then I get text messages saying when you're heading to my house or, when you're about finished, things like all these little touches that we don't really think about and we don't really have time to do because we're just running around doing work. It's really good to have a software that's working on the back end of your business. And that's really why we created Handyman Champion. And our sales team is absolutely fantastic. So that sales number that we dropped earlier, seriously, call that number anytime. Even if you don't have a free trial with Handyman Champion, give that number a call and they will literally answer whatever questions you want. You could probably even ask them a question about water heaters. They probably won't, be able to give you the correct answer, but you can ask them whatever you want and they will walk you through. They will even set up a live video with you to hop on a Zoom call and walk you through the Handyman Champion app. So our sales team is fantastic. We've gotten a lot of great reviews from them. So I'd highly recommend you check that out. Call them. It's a free number to call, 855-220-8652.
Yeah. I just want to say, Joe, thanks for coming on, man, and the question. And it sounds like you're, if you don't have an issue getting work, but you don't have a CRM implemented, I know it's kind of ripping off the Band-Aid and investing time, but I would wager that most people that aren't using a CRM, if they just kind of rip the Band-Aid off, made the time investment, invest in the knowledge of how to work it into your business, you're going to be saving 10 to 30 minutes per estimate. That would be my off the cuff, depending on how deep people go into their estimates. And when you think about how many estimates one would give in a month, you're saving hours and hours and hours that you can invest back into your business, have freed up for more labor. So before looking at your rates, I would look at creating efficiencies with what you have right now by getting a good CRM business system in place. And then you mentioned leaving money on the table. You absolutely are by losing efficiency and not having a CRM to help facilitate estimates, invoicing, scheduling, et cetera. But if you're already feeling like you're leaving money on the table with your pricing, get the CRM, your efficiency dialed in, then revisit your pricing. It's an amazing thing that you've got so much work because you're in a great market, obviously provide quality service, but highly encourage you to get some efficiencies created with a CRM. And yeah, thanks again, Joe, for coming on, man. Really appreciate it. All right, guys. Yep. See you, Joe. We're about to wrap this puppy up. And so we just want to thank you all for joining us. We do this every couple weeks. So the next one will be on Halloween, October 31st, 2 p.m. Pacific time. It's West Coast time. If you aren't already out with the family, with the kids, or just by yourself as in your Spider-Man costume or whatever you like to do by yourself. we're not judging you. Anyway, we'll be here every 2 weeks. So we are kind of getting in this live caller thing. We're trying to get this all figured out. So ultimately we can come on here and whoever wants to call in would love to have a conversation and answer your questions. We especially want to hear from you. If you're struggling with something, please like let us know. Email Alan. We'd love to have you on the show here to ultimately, like, we want to help people with their problems. I think that's the most important thing. Of course, any questions about business, CRMs, we're happy to answer that. But if you're really struggling with something, this is a great platform to do that and get our feedback. And of course, if you aren't a member of the Handyman Journey Mastermind group on Facebook, I know there's a lot watching in there right now. If you're on YouTube and are not a member, go in there. It's an amazing community that'll answer your questions. Pricing, marketing, whatever. It's an amazing Facebook group. People often say it's the best Facebook group. Very kind, supportive people, good admin team. Shout out to all the admins out there, giving people the axe, giving people the strong word. Our guy, Mike Radcliffe in the house, keeping things tidy. So anyway, everybody, thank you so much for tuning in. We'll see y'all in the next live.